What if I told you that Cain did not walk into an empty land? What if the moment he was exiled from Eden, he stepped into a civilization the Bible never fully revealed? A people older than Adam's line, and a woman whose name was erased from history? What if the most forbidden love story in ancient times wasn't between two kingdoms, but between Cain, the cursed wanderer, and a mysterious woman from a forgotten tribe in the land of Nod? A woman whose origins shake everything we think we know about the early world. Tonight, prepare yourself, because once you hear the truth about Cain's hidden wife, you will never read Genesis the same way again. If you're captivated by mysteries like this, hit the subscribe button and join our community. Don't just watch history, be part of the journey. Subscribe now, turn on notifications, and join the membership for deeper hidden stories. The sun hung low over Eden's borders, a dying ember in the sky, as the world held its breath. Not a leaf moved, not a bird dared sing. Something terrible was about to break the silence of creation. Cain stood alone in the field, his hands trembling, his eyes darkened, his heart hollow. His brother Abel knelt beside the altar, offering the sacrifice that smelled sweet and clean, the kind heaven could not refuse. The fire burned brightly on Abel's altar. On Cain's, the smoke rose weak and lifeless. Jealousy crawled inside Cain, a creature with claws. It whispered that he was forgotten, unseen, rejected. Abel turned to him, gentle as always. "Brother, let us talk." But Cain's world was already falling apart. His vision blurred with rage. And then, in a moment that echoed across the ages, he struck. A cry tore through the field. Abel collapsed, his blood warm against the soil that once welcomed the footsteps of Adam. The ground shuddered. The sky dimmed, as if creation itself mourned what had just happened. Cain staggered back, breathing like a wild beast. His hands shook, stained with something he could never wash away. He whispered, "What have I done?" But the earth had already carried Abel's cry to heaven, and heaven answered. The presence of God descended upon the field, not gently, but with the weight of a storm. Cain dropped to his knees, trembling violently as the very air around him thickened with judgment. This was the moment the world changed, and it was only the beginning. A thunderous voice echoed across the valley. "Cain, where is Abel your brother?" The words cracked through Cain's spirit like lightning through ancient stone. He kept his face low, wrestling with fear. I do not know," he lied. "Am I my brother's keeper?" Silence fell. Then the wind howled violently, swirling dead leaves around Cain as though the earth itself rejected his lie. "The voice of your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground." A tremor shook the soil. Abel's spilled blood glowed faintly, as if illuminated by invisible fire. "Now you are cursed from the earth." Cain's heart pounded so hard he could barely breathe. This was no ordinary punishment. This was a sentence written into the land, the air, the future. "A fugitive and a wanderer shall you be all the days of your life." The sky roared, and with it, Cain's life shattered. He screamed, "My punishment is too great to bear. Whoever finds me will kill me." But God responded, "Not so." And in that moment, everything changed. Light descended, a narrow column cutting through the dusk. Cain's eyes burned from its brilliance. Something powerful, terrifying, and sacred etched itself on his body. A mark. Not a tattoo. Not a symbol. A divine signature that warned every living being. "Touch him, and judgment will fall on you sevenfold." Cain gasped, clutching his arms. The mark pulsed like a heartbeat, a shield of curse and protection, blended into one. He rose slowly, shaking from head to toe. He was neither accepted nor destroyed, neither forgiven nor forgotten. He was sentenced to walk the earth as the first man to ever experience fear. Real fear, not the innocent awe Adam once felt in Eden, but the kind that haunts the soul. The sound of Abel's blood seemed to echo behind him with every step he took. This was no ending. It was the opening of a mystery. Cain walked eastward, away from Adam, away from Eve, away from Eden's light. Every step deepened the shadows around him. The wilderness ahead was not empty. It felt aware. The land of Nod waited for him. No scripture ever said it was barren. No text said it was uninhabited. No historian could prove that he walked into nothingness. In fact, everything points to the opposite. Cain's heart raced as he crossed a riverbed and climbed a ridge. The wind shifted. He felt eyes watching him. Torchlights flickered in the distance. Moving, human, organized, intelligent. He froze. Who were these people? Where did they come from? Why did they approach without fear? And then, from the shadows, a figure stepped forward. A woman, veiled, silent, unmoving. Her presence struck Cain harder than judgment itself. Her eyes glowed like fire reflecting off still water. Not fearful of him, but curious, as if she had been expecting someone, or something. Cain's breath caught in his throat. He had no idea that this encounter would rewrite human history and give birth to a lineage that Scripture only hints at. A lineage built on a woman whose name was erased, whose story was buried, whose people vanished from the records. And she, the woman standing before him in the land of Nod, was about to become his wife. But her origin was the greatest mystery of all. Cain descended the rocky slope into the land of Nod with trembling steps. Every instinct told him this place was not empty. The air was thick, not with silence, but with whispers carried on the wind. Shapes moved in the distance. Silhouettes too organized to be animals, too silent to be friendly. He was no longer wandering into wilderness. He was stepping into another world. A faint drumbeat echoed across the valley. Not a chaotic rhythm, but a pattern, a code, a signal. Cain froze. 3 torches rose on a hill, held high not randomly, but in formation. One stepped left, another stepped right, and the middle one stood perfectly still. This was a message, a warning, a ritual, something ancient. Cain's breath grew heavy. He had just become the first murderer in human history, the first cursed man, the first wanderer. But he was about to face something even more terrifying. A civilization no one knew existed. As Cain watched, the silhouettes moved with purpose. Not like hunters, more like guardians. The valley trembled with a low vibration, hundreds of feet shifting behind unseen ridges. Cain whispered, "Who are they?" The curse had made him alone. But now he realized he was not alone anymore, and that made the world even scarier. Without warning, the torches dimmed. A cold wind swept across the plain. Dust spiraled at Cain's feet. Then, from the shadows she appeared, silent, still, like a carved figure brought to life. Her veil danced in the breeze, revealing only her eyes, sharp, steady, and glowing faintly like embers trapped in moonlit water. She did not look afraid of him. She did not look confused. She looked like she understood exactly what he was. Cain stepped backward. "Stay back," he whispered. But she took another step forward, slowly, deliberately, as though approaching a wounded animal. Her voice was calm, almost melodic. "You are marked." Cain stiffened. His hand flew to the mark, glowing faintly across his skin. "How do you know that?" She tilted her head slightly, studying him like a puzzle. "We have seen the mark once before," she said softly. "It is the sign of the wanderer, the one whom heaven burns but does not destroy." Cain's heartbeat thumped painfully against his ribs. Who was we? How long had they existed? What did they know about heaven? The woman reached out her hand, not to touch him, but to show she carried no weapon. "My people have been waiting for you." Cain's mouth dried. Waiting? For a murderer? For a cursed man? That meant one terrifying thing. They already knew who he was before he arrived. Cain was led through a narrow pass into a hidden settlement. A valley lit by rows of torches arranged like stars on the ground. Structures of stone and clay lined the slopes. Smoke drifted from tall, decorated pillars carved with symbols older than anything Adam had ever taught his sons. People stepped out from behind walls and tents, warriors with tall spears, women with painted eyes, children with braided hair and ceremonial markings. Cain's mind spun. How are there so many of you? Where did you come from? Who made you? But they did not answer. Their eyes were fixed on him like he was a prophecy stepping into their world. The woman walked ahead of him with quiet authority. Her presence demanded respect. When they reached a raised platform of polished black stone, the elders assembled, 6 of them, each wearing robes dyed with pigments Cain couldn't recognize. One elder spoke with a deep, echoing voice. So, the cursed son of Adam finally walks into our land. Cain swallowed hard. You know my father? The elder nodded slowly. We knew of him before he knew himself. Cain's knees weakened. This tribe was ancient, perhaps older than Adam's family, holding secrets burned out of history. Another elder leaned forward, staring straight into Cain's soul. And this woman you follow, she is the one destined for you. Cain turned sharply toward her. She did not flinch. Her eyes held something between destiny and pity. Destined for me? He whispered. The elder replied, It is written, a wanderer will come wounded by heaven's judgment, carrying the first blood of man on his hands. He will join with the daughter of the east, and from them will rise a city that shapes nations. Cain felt the world tilt. His curse had become part of an ancient prophecy, but he didn't know yet whether this was salvation or doom. That night, Cain sat beside a clay fire pit, silent, shaking, and overwhelmed. The woman approached him once more, carrying a vessel of crushed herbs mixed with warm oil. You are wounded, she said gently. Cain looked at his arms. Cuts from the wilderness, scratches from thorns, bruises from falling. He hadn't even noticed how battered he was since he fled Eden. She knelt beside him and dipped her fingers into the glowing mixture. When she touched his skin, the burning pain eased instantly. Cain pulled away at first. He didn't deserve kindness. He didn't deserve help. But she insisted. Your journey has begun, she whispered. You cannot complete it alone. Cain's voice cracked. I killed my brother. Why would you help someone like me? The woman paused, her hand still on his arm. In our tribe, she said softly, we do not fear the broken. We fear the ones who pretend they are whole. Her words pierced him deeper than any judgment. For the first time since Abel died, Cain felt something unfamiliar. He felt seen. As the fire flickered, her eyes reflected its glow. There was something sacred in them, something ancient, something dangerous. She wrapped a cloth around his arm. He looked at her, trembling. What is your name? She hesitated. Then she answered, I am Ashara. Cain whispered it again. Ashara. The name felt like the beginning of something powerful, something forbidden, something history tried to erase. Cain didn't know yet. Ashara was about to become the most important and most hidden woman in human history. The fire crackled softly as night wrapped the valley in darkness. Cain sat across from Ashara, staring into her eyes as if reading a story written in flames. He had never seen someone like her before. Not in Eden, not in the fields where he walked with Abel, not in the world Adam described. Ashara had an ancient presence, as though she carried thousands of unspoken histories inside her. Finally, Cain spoke in a shaking voice. How did your people know about me? How did they know I would come? Ashara looked toward the distant mountains, her voice barely above a whisper. Because we were here long before you arrived. Long before Adam was formed from the dust. Cain's heart stopped. What are you saying? She turned back to him, her expression solemn. My tribe has survived the storms of ages, the earthquakes, the darkness that struck the early world. We do not write our history in scrolls. We carve it into memory. Cain swallowed. This was impossible. Everything Adam taught them said humanity began with him and Eve. Ashara continued, "There is a prophecy among my people, a prophecy of a man who would walk into Nod with a mark of fire upon him, a man carrying both judgment and destiny on his skin." Cain touched the mark glowing faintly on his arm. Ashara leaned closer. "You are that man." Fear washed through Cain. Fear, and something else. Something dangerous. Something like connection. "Ashara," he whispered, "why would your people accept someone like me? A murderer?" She reached out, lifting his chin gently. "We do not judge a tree by one broken branch. We judge it by the forest it can grow." Her words melted something frozen inside him. For the first time, Cain believed he could still be more than the monster he became. The elders gathered at dawn. A circle of torches surrounded Cain and Ashara as the tribe assembled, chanting ancient words that echoed across the valley. The sky turned gold, and the mountains responded with a low hum, as if the earth itself acknowledged the ritual. Cain stood barefoot on the polished black stone platform. Ashara walked toward him, veiled in deep blue cloth embroidered with symbols Cain did not understand. The chief elder lifted a carved staff and spoke. "Two paths meet today, one shaped by the dust of Eden, and one shaped by the forgotten days of the East. Together they shall birth a legacy that shapes cities." Cain felt the weight of destiny pressing on him. Ashara stepped beside him, and the elder placed their hands together. A burning sensation shot through Cain's palm. He lifted his hand to see that both their palms were smeared with a glowing red pigment. "It is the blood oath," Ashara whispered. "Our union is sealed with life itself." Cain had never experienced anything like it. This was not the ceremony Adam taught, not the customs of Eden. This was older, deeper, and strangely sacred. The tribal drums thundered as the elder declared, "In the eyes of heaven, and in the memory of the ancient ones, you are now joined." The moment their hands intertwined again, the flames around them rose higher, swirling violently, as if acknowledging the union of two worlds that were never meant to meet. Ashara looked into Cain's eyes and whispered, "Our destiny begins." Cain believed her. Weeks passed, then months. The tribe accepted Cain reluctantly at first, but as he worked the land, built shelters, and learned their craft, they slowly embraced him, not as one of them, but as Ashara's chosen. Then came the night the winds howled through the mountains and the sky swirled with strange auroras. Ashara went into labor. The women of the tribe took her into a clay-built chamber lit by dozens of oil lamps. Cain waited outside, pacing, terrified, helpless. Every cry from Ashara stabbed through him. Every chant from the women made his heart pound. Then, the world went silent. The door opened slowly. A woman stepped out holding a newborn wrapped in white linen. "Cain," she said gently, "you have a son." Cain's hands shook as he took the child. The baby opened his eyes, bright, sharp, almost luminous. Not quite like Adam's line. Not quite like Ashara's people. Something blended. Something new. Ashara whispered from her bed, "His name shall be Enoch, the beginning of a legacy." Cain felt a tear fall on the child's forehead. For the first time since Abel died, he felt purpose, hope, wonder. But destiny was not finished with them yet. Days after Enoch's birth, Cain wandered into the elder's chamber. There he found an argument raging. Stacks of ancient clay tablets and scrolls lay across the floor. Histories of the tribe, prophecies, genealogies, stories from ages before Eden. One elder shouted, "This union breaks the old order." Another pointed at Cain angrily, "Adam's line will overwrite ours." A third elder slammed his staff. "His child, this Enoch, will carry the blood of two worlds. It will change everything." Cain stepped forward, anger rising. "What are you hiding? What don't you want my son to know?" Silence. Then one elder whispered, "Our records speak of the world before Adam, of tribes older than your father, of ancient wars, of beings who walked the earth before your kind." Cain's heart stopped. "And these," the elder said, "must never be known by your descendants." Before Cain could respond, The elders gathered the ancient scrolls, drenched them in oil, and set them on fire. Flames consumed centuries of forgotten history as Cain watched, helpless, furious, and confused. Ashara rushed to his side, gripping his arm. "They fear what our union represents," she whispered. "A merging of worlds, a challenge to their ancient ways." Cain clenched his fists. "Then they fear the future." Ashara nodded slowly. "Which is why they will try to control it." As the flames devoured the last of the records, smoke curled into the night sky, the smoke of a lost civilization erased forever. The past was burned, but destiny was only beginning. Night settled over Nod like a veil, thick and heavy with secrets. Cain walked through the valley holding a torch, his mind racing with questions the elders refused to answer. The destruction of the ancient records had not silenced him. It had awakened something dangerous inside him. He reached a carved stone wall near the foot of the mountain. Symbols spiraled across it, older than any writing Adam taught him, older than any script known to man. He ran his fingers over the markings. "These look like memories," Ashara said behind him. Cain turned sharply. Ashara stood there, her hair wrapped in dark cloth, her face illuminated only by the torch flame. "Tell me the truth," Cain whispered. "Who are your people, really?" Ashara hesitated, then exhaled slowly. "We were here before Adam breathed his first breath. We were here before your father opened his eyes." Cain's heart pounded. "That is impossible. Adam was the first man." Ashara stepped closer, placing her palm over the carvings. "My people are not like yours. We were shaped differently. We do not trace our beginning from Eden. We remember the first dawn, when the world was wild and light touched the mountains before names were given." Cain stared at her, stunned. "You are older than us?" "Not I," she corrected softly. "My bloodline." She looked into Cain's eyes deeply. "We are the remnants of a forgotten creation." The words shook Cain's soul. A creation before Adam. A people erased because their existence did not fit the story he was raised on. Cain whispered, "Why didn't my father know about you?" Ashara touched his cheek gently. "Because some histories are buried so the new ones can rise. But truth finds its way back." And Cain understood. Ashara was not just his wife. She was the bridge between the world he knew and the world before it. Ashara led Cain through the inner sanctum of Nod, a place he had never seen before. Stone pillars arranged in spirals, pools reflecting starlight like mirrors, a carved circle on the ground large enough for a gathering of hundreds. Cain stood in awe. "What is this place?" Ashara's voice grew soft and reverent. "This is the Hall of Memory. Here, our people pass down secrets, rituals, and laws that have guided us for generations." Cain walked past a carved mural showing figures with elongated limbs, advanced tools, and scenes of massive structures that looked nothing like anything Adam's family had ever built. He pointed at one image. These look like giants." Ashara nodded slowly. "Yes, we lived among them once." Cain's blood ran cold. "And did Adam know of this? Did he know this world existed?" Ashara shook her head. "Adam knew only his garden. But the earth is bigger than Eden, Cain. Much bigger." Cain's throat tightened. Ashara continued, "Our laws were simple. We protect memory. We preserve the balance of the land. We do not interfere with the destiny of Adam's line." Cain stiffened. "Then why did you marry me?" Ashara looked away, pain flickering in her eyes. "Because prophecy demanded it." Cain stepped closer, placing his hand on her arm. "Or because you chose it?" She didn't answer, but the silence spoke louder than her words. They descended into an underground chamber lit by hundreds of oil flames. Here, tablets and carvings filled the walls from floor to ceiling. Cain's breath caught. "This is what the elders didn't want me to see." Ashara nodded. "Our tribe holds knowledge from ages your father never encountered. We know the storms that shaped the deep oceans, the creatures that roamed before your kind existed, the wars of the early skies." Cain turned sharply. "Wars? Between who?" Ashara whispered. Between beings of light and beings of rebellion. Cain froze. You mean? Yes, Ashara said firmly. The rebellion in the heavens was not hidden from us. We felt its tremors on the earth. She pointed at a mural showing winged beings descending, fighting, clashing. Cain shuddered. These memories were forbidden to Adam, Ashara continued. He was given innocence. We were given knowledge. Cain leaned against the wall, overwhelmed. And now I carry both, he whispered. A curse from Eden and secrets from your tribe. Ashara stepped closer, her voice trembling. This is why they fear you. This is why they fear us. She placed her hand on his heart. You are the collision of two worlds that were never meant to meet. Cain looked into her eyes and realized something terrifying. He and Ashara were not just husband and wife. They were a prophecy unfolding. When Cain and Ashara returned to the village, the atmosphere had changed. Whispers followed them. Warriors stared with suspicion. The elders stood in a tight circle, talking in low, urgent tones. Ashara sensed it immediately. They know you've seen the truth, she whispered. Cain clenched his fists. I will not be treated like a threat. But Ashara grabbed his wrist. Cain, listen to me. My people have lived unseen for generations. Your presence threatens the order they've held for ages. Cain stepped toward the elders. What are you afraid of? He demanded. One elder stepped forward, eyes burning with anger. You bring Adam's curse into our land. You bring disruption. You bring change. Cain stood tall. I bring my son, and I will protect him. Another elder hissed. Your son is the problem. He carries blood not meant to mix. He is a key or a weapon. Ashara's voice shook. Do not speak of Enoch that way. But the elders had already begun to turn. The crowd around them edged forward. Ashara whispered urgently. Cain, they fear you. Fear makes men foolish. Fear makes them violent. Cain's jaw tightened. That I will not run. Ashara looked at him with a mixture of love and sorrow. You may not have a choice. Above them, thunder rolled across the mountains. Not from weather, but as if the earth itself knew a storm was coming. Cain's arrival had awakened something ancient, and Nod would never be the same again. The air in Nod crackled with tension. Thunder rumbled across the mountains, but no storm clouds moved overhead. The storm was inside the people. Two factions had formed overnight. Those loyal to Ashara, who believed Cain's arrival fulfilled prophecy, and those loyal to the elders, who believed the union would shatter everything sacred. Cain stood in the center of the settlement, gripping his staff. Ashara held baby Enoch close to her chest, fear tightening her jaw. Warriors stepped forward from both sides, forming a circle of trembling rage. One elder lifted his staff. Cain must leave. The child must not remain among us. Ashara screamed. And oh! A stone flew through the air and struck the ground at Cain's feet. The first strike. The valley erupted, men yelled. Women cried. Children scattered. Spears clashed. Torches fell. Huts burned. Cain had witnessed violence before. He had caused it with his own hands. But this was worse. This was war ignited by his presence. Cain tried to shield Ashara as rival warriors surged toward them. Take Enoch, she shouted, thrusting the baby into his arms. Run! Cain hesitated. What about you? Ashara looked at him with fierce, heartbreaking clarity. I will hold them off. Go, now! Cain ran through the chaos, clutching Enoch while shadows clashed behind him. Ashara's scream echoed through the valley. Protect our son! And then the night swallowed her. Cain hid at the edge of the valley, breathless, shaking, eyes burning with fear. The screams grew distant. The fires dimmed. The sounds of battle faded into a cold, dead silence. Cain's chest tightened. Something was wrong. He waited until dawn bled into the sky before he dared to return. The settlement was unrecognizable. Huts lay in ruins, smoke curled from charred ground. Bodies lay scattered. The once-living valley was now a grave. Cain whispered, Ashara, please. He searched desperately, pushing debris aside, ignoring the pain cutting into his hands. Then he saw her. Ashara lay beneath the fallen roof of the Hall of Memory. Her veil was torn, her breath shallow, her eyes still alive. But fading fast, Cain dropped to his knees beside her. Ashara, Enoch, stay with me, please. She reached up slowly and touched his face with trembling fingers. Cain, listen. No, don't speak. Listen. Her voice held the last strength she had. Enoch must live, your son. Will build what others destroyed. He must carry the knowledge of both worlds. Cain's tears dripped onto her hand. Ashara, I can't do this alone. You were never meant to be alone, she whispered. Enoch will be your strength. Her eyes flickered with a final spark of life. And Cain, remember me. He sobbed, shaking violently. I will remember you forever. Ashara smiled faintly. A sad, beautiful smile. Then her hand fell. The light in her eyes dimmed, and the woman history never recorded was gone. Cain buried Ashara beneath the ancient stone tree at the edge of Nod. The place she once told him held the memories of her ancestors. He placed stones over her grave, whispering words he didn't know he had. You were my beginning and now you are my scar. When Cain turned to leave, he discovered something that made his blood freeze. Ashara's body had vanished. The stones remained, the soil still disturbed, but the place where she should have lain was empty. Cain stumbled backward. And oh, no, this is impossible. The wind howled through the valley, carrying whispers that felt like voices. Some said she was taken by her people. Others believed she was carried by forces older than Eden. And some claimed the ancient spirits of Nod reclaimed her body to preserve their bloodline's secrets. But Cain knew one thing. Her disappearance was not natural. Not in the slightest. And it meant her story, her origin, was far deeper than he ever understood. He held Enoch close and whispered, Your mother was more than I ever knew, and they tried to erase her, but I won't let them. The disappearance became the first erased chapter of human history. Cain walked for days with Enoch strapped to his chest, crossing deserts, rivers, and mountains. He no longer walked as a murderer. He no longer walked as a cursed wanderer. He walked as a man driven by love, grief, and prophecy. Eventually, he reached a wide plateau overlooking a fertile valley. He laid Enoch on a soft cloth and knelt in the dirt. This will be your home, Cain whispered, and we will build something new for her. He hammered the first wooden post into the ground. Then another, and another. Days passed. Weeks, months. Cain worked like a man possessed, constructing shelters, carving stones, shaping foundations. Travelers from distant lands joined him. Families seeking peace settled beside him. A settlement rose, then a village, then a city. Cain stood on a hill holding Enoch, now a child. Your mother, he said softly, will not be forgotten. He lifted the child high. I name this city Enoch, after my son, and in honor of the woman whose name the world tried to erase. The wind blew hard across the city walls, almost as if Ashara herself was blessing it. The city of Enoch became the first true city of humanity, a legacy born from forbidden love, forgotten civilizations, and a mystery that Scripture never fully revealed. Ashara's name may have been hidden, her history erased, her origins buried, but Cain kept his promise. She would live on, in memory, in destiny, in the very stones of the first city on earth. And that is the story of the hidden wife of Cain, the woman erased from history, yet responsible for one of the greatest legacies humanity ever knew.